Good day out there today. The weather's certainly cooperating for a beautiful November day, that's for sure. Good practice in full pads. I think Ruhan Peel is doing an excellent job for us of trying to simulate their offense, which is not a very easy task to do. And I think the whole group, the whole scout team office did a good job today of trying to give the defense the right looks. And you can never simulate the speed and the precision of everything they do. It's what they do, and there's a reason why they're good at it. There's a reason why they're the #1 rushing team in the country. But I think we're doing about as good a job as we've done here, so I'm excited about that. I think that'll give us an opportunity to play well on Saturday.
What about Ruhan made him the candidate to simulate their quarterback?
Well, I think he's a very competitive person by nature. I think that's the first quality you have to have, because that guy's going to get hit a lot during the practice week, and he's going to have to bounce up and keep playing. And certainly from an athleticism standpoint, I think it's a good match. He's a guy who runs well. He's tough to tackle, very similar to their quarterback. And actually, he's throwing the ball better than I expected for somebody that doesn't play that position.
Kyle, do you do more hitting on a week like this than maybe you would normally from a defensive standpoint?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
How come?
It's just the nature of trying to defend this offense. It's tough to do if you don't actually go through and do it. I think the other part of that is coming off a bye week. We feel like our bodies are able to do that as well. So had the circumstances been different, and I think they're different every year. It might be similar to most game weeks, or maybe even less if it was a short week. But I think given the timing of the game and the nature of their offense, I think it's a good time to do it.
Any problems being so exposed to practice? Usually you're very enclosed. People can't see in. There's a lot down there around the area. Do you have any issues with that?
Some of the fences are down. It's one of those situations. There's a lot more important things that I think need to be fixed, in Piscataway and New Brunswick. So
I understand, but I mean, the past coaches have wanted to
Sure.
do it in privacy.
And if I had exactly what I wanted, I would want that too. And
Okay.
we could have gone in the bubble today, but I didn't think that was in our best interest, because I think the weather's great. So I think if the weather cooperates, there's really no reason to go in. And it sounds like we may need to go in tomorrow and Thursday. So I felt it was a good day to be outside. And again, in a perfect world, we'd have the seclusion, but given the circumstances, I'm not concerned about it.
Everybody seems to like to compare Juwan to Ray Rice, but how are they different in running styles?
I just think they're different when they get through the first level of the defense. I think they're different runners. I always felt like Ray was a run through your arms guy, and Juwan's a little bit more of a make you miss guy. And those make you miss qualities, I'd love to tell you that we coach that, but those are God given, and he just has a knack for being able to do it, and that's why it happens. It's not something you even have time to think about as a runner. You either do it or you don't do it, and he's one of those guys. He can do it.
Kyle, everybody always talks about Army's offense and how hard it is to prepare. What about the defense, where it seems like you guys would have an advantage with size and everything?
I think most teams they play probably have a little bit of a size advantage on them, other than maybe the other academies that they play against. But I think one of the things that's difficult with their defense is it's the only time you see it. It's very unique, and I think anytime something is unique, it's a little bit tougher to prepare for, because there's not as much overlap teaching from the rest of the year. But the other thing that makes it difficult is they're very multiple. So it's not just that they play a unique defense and they do one thing. They have a lot of things that they do, and in a lot of ways they move their players. And the last part, which I think is a quality of every defense that's tough to play against, is that they play with tremendous effort. So you're going to see 11 guys running to the football every play, and you better make sure you're matching their effort every play.
Kyle, there's a body of work to call in 8 games, so why do you think, we've asked you this before, I don't know if you've looked back, but the disparity in production between the first half and the second half? Numbers-wise, statistics, they're all completely different, the first half versus the second half. I mean, maybe does one half have to be dominant?
We have looked at it, and we certainly try to look at everything and see what the reasons are. And I think there is no one reason. Certainly, when you get penalties earlier in the year, you could have said that some of the penalties early in those games stopped some drives on us, and that would be part of the reason. But that has not been consistent throughout the 8 games. And I think, just from experience, what I think it may be, although I don't know that we'll ever really know this for sure, but it may be just we haven't played enough football as an offense. We may need to see what we're playing against live on game day to get used to blocking it, to get used to executing against it, to get used to running routes against it. All the things you have to do on offense. On defense, we've got quite a few more established players. It might be easier for them to play at a really high level quicker in the games. And I don't know if that's a reason. It's certainly not an excuse. You know, we want to score every time we have the ball. We know that's not reality, but that's our goal every time we have it. And hopefully, as we go through the year and we gain experience, we can get better at it as well. You know, fortunately for us, the good thing is we have played good enough defense in those games that we haven't, and even in the games we've fallen behind, it hasn't been to such an extent that it has changed the game, you know, as much.
Got time for two more?
Is there any difference in the play style or maybe the role that your safeties have in such a run-heavy team?
I think everything changes this week. Everybody's role changes. You know, from the defensive line to the linebackers. You know, really the structure of our defense changes. You know, and I think that's the same for everybody when you play these option teams for sure.
Kind of injury-wise, is there anyone either coming back or that you'll be missing since Kent State?
The only thing I would say is that no real change in any of the positions. Kyle kicked against a rush today, you know, for the first time, so he's a little closer. He's not 100%. I think that was obvious to me just watching it on the field, but it is good that he's at the point now where he kicked against a rush and made the kick, which was good. And then we'll see, see how he feels tomorrow after doing it.
Thanks, Kyle.